Hello, I'm Cheuk. I am a developer advocate in JetBrains. So basically what I do is that I love talking to people. I love meeting all of you. I love, talking to you all. So this time we are doing it online, but if you see me at a conference, then please come and talk to me. Any feedback, comments, anything, please love to talk to you. So AI coding agents, Junie, I know we all love Junie, is so nice and very useful for me. Very, very useful. Use it every day. And but today, so we are going to look at a AI coding agents that I built with Junie. So we are not looking at Junie's code, unfortunately. It's it's JetBrains product. It's like, so we're not going to show you Junie's code. This is just a very simplified example, so it doesn't work as well as Junie. It's just very simple toy AI coding agents that I've created with the help of Junie. So yeah, so but I think it's good enough to kind of give you an idea how AI coding agent work, and probably maybe have a little bit of inkling of what Junie is doing while you are using it. So yeah, so that's what we're gonna do today. So first of all, we are talking about AI coding agents. So this is a very basic diagram of how AI agent work. This is again like oversimplified. You will see, but the basic idea is there. You will see how we implement them in the code later. But so you may think that oh, why we need AI agent? I can just ask a LLM, for example. Like I ask ChatGPT for everything. Like I have a friend who asks ChatGPT for everything, like how to pronounce this German word or whatever. But the difference between an AI agent and just a large language model is that an AI agent is able to formulate action plans and take action. So it's almost like it can kind of make decision by itself and take action by itself. But of course, it's powered by a large language model. So a lot of reasoning, a lot of those are based on the large language model, because the large language model is trained with a lot of knowledge. I think a lot of you knows that that's why all these companies are putting different versions of large language model from time to time, because they are trained with maybe newer information, newer knowledge. So even some is connected. I think all of you have heard about RAG. So it's connected to what's available on the internet right now. So they will have a more up to date knowledge. Unfortunately, that's not how Junie works. Junie's LLM is Sonnet 3.7. So the knowledge is up to date until 2023 in April. So I found that yesterday. It's very, very interesting, because if you open, you can do it right now if you have Junie. Go to your favorite IDE that is supported by Junie, open the Junie window, and ask Junie the question what is your latest knowledge, and then Junie will tell you what its updated knowledge is. So it's not right now 2025 in May. No, it's April 2023 if I remember correctly, but you can check it now, see if I'm mistaken or anything. So that's the LLM that Junie is using. So that's why you may see sometimes, if you have tried Junie, you may see sometimes Junie is using some deprecated function. Why is it? Unfortunately, yeah, if you are, let's say, developing and using a library that has been developing very, very rapidly, Junie may have more challenge than others. So that's the bit that maybe we have to talk with the team to see if they have any plans to make it better. But so far, I think most of the time Junie works very well, especially when you're working with stable stable libraries and tools and languages. So yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the diagram here. We have, first of all, we would input, have some prompt input, right? So that is the first stage of information perception. So a lot of times when you give an agent a prompt, so that is different from when you give, let's say, ChatGPT a prompt, or Yeah. That is because the agent doesn't just directly take the prompt and send it to the LLM and give you back the result. The agents will do a lot of heavy lifting of staging it in a way that, like, maybe sometimes it needs some extra information, some extra background information to give to the LLM, or it will need to have some kind of you know uh, what are the requirements, what's the basic rules, and all those things. So you will see those in the code later, so you would understand more of what I mean about that. So but that's the first stage, right? And then, of course, we will have the LLM in the picture. So, LLM will give us something back. So that would be like a solution or a plan, especially for a coding agent. So we want the step by step. Like, when you use Junie, you see that Junie have like, a plan. And then there is like multiple steps of what Junie wanting to do and all those things. So, yeah, so like you will see the basically like that is the plan that is come up by the LLMs. So that's the first like kind of things that come back from the LLM. Of course, like you again, like you see Junie will put it into action, and sometimes you see the plan changes in the middle of it because uh, Junie is smart. Junie is like doesn't just follow the plan and that's it. Junie will adopt as well if things come up during the execution of the plan. So yeah, so that's come into the stage of like we would evaluate the result. Uh, so for that action plan, right? So the agent put the plan into action, and of course sometimes it doesn't work all the time, right? Because it's just a plan come up with by the LLM. Sometimes if we don't give enough information, background information at the first stage, or sometimes LLM just hallucinate or whatever, made a mistake, then it won't work. So we have to evaluate whether the plan works, whether it can do what we want to do. So that's something that we would do. Yeah, someone has. So thank you, Matthias, checking. Can I show your comment here? Yeah, so like thank you for checking. It's yeah, it's 2024 show here. Yeah. Thank you for checking. Yes, that's like April 2024, not 2023. Sorry, I remember it wrong. But yes, that's the cutoff of the knowledge. So anything happened this year, Junie doesn't know, basically. Yeah, so after evaluating the result, after showing the after trying all the plans, that's where you may see Junie may change, have a have a change of plans to make sure to kind of like correct the course. If something doesn't work, maybe you need to have a plan B or like something else. Then you know um so sometimes the agent is more sophisticated. It will have a feedback. It will like not just try and done, or like try and oh sorry can't be done, but it would try to correct itself to make a better plan, to make sure that the goal is achieved. So that's a very like over like simplified explanation. Okay, so yeah, so let's look at like zoom in more on like what coding agent specifically is doing. So um for a coding agent, the stage of the first stage is to set the scene for the LLM to understand a lot of things that like because a LLM is trained generally. It doesn't understand what uh, it basically like it know how to code, but it doesn't understand um what you what you have in your machine. So it will give you some like it will give you a text as a result. So how you can put those texts into action, that's why you have to set the scene. And sometimes people call it the script. You will see it again, like I will show you some example code later, but first, like in the scene, like there's two main things you want to tell the LLM in advance, so that like when your agent work, then it kind of like it will know how to translate this result from the LLM from a text into something that is, usable. So, for example, what we would have is we would tell the LLM what tools we have. So, for tools, what do you mean by tools? Like, do we just like give them like a screwdriver? No, it's basically saying what command, for example, what command we can do in the computer. For example, we are working on a Mac machine, so you can like run any like bash command, or like, or we are working on a Windows machine, so you have to even tell RM like, okay, give me window command, don't give me, because like I'm on a Windows machine, so like, if you give me a command like that works on Unix, then it won't work on a Windows machine, right? So those things. Also, you have to tell RM like, for example, for this agent, we give this agent is super powerful. It can do anything. Like, it could create a file and delete a file. Some agent, not Junie, some agent could, maybe you want to say like, this agent should never ever delete a file, so it doesn't have the tool to remove a file, let's say. Or other tools will be like, you can open a file, change the file. You have, let's say you have Python, you can run Python. Let's say you tell RM, we have Python 3.12, because we don't have 3.13 for Junie. So yeah, run Python 3. We have Python 3.12 on this machine, and you can use it. So for example, something like that. So that's the tool available. So you have to tell RM like, when they make the plan, these are the available options. So basically, it's like, playing a game, like what moves you have, right? So that you have to tell the RM. Next is the format of the action plan, because the result from the RM is a free form text, right? So it could be, it could be just like in a paragraph of like, oh, we should do this first, and then second we should do that, which is terrible to translate into step-by-step instructions, because that's why we write code, right? Computer only kind of recently start to understand natural language, so we don't want to make it more harder for us. So maybe we would tell the LLM to give us the action plan in a more kind of commonly used format by developers. For example, a JSON format, TOML format, YAML format. You can choose one, as long as you can pass that and then into something that you could use later. Then it's good. Yeah, free-form text is not good. Paragraph is not good. Maybe point form is kind of okay, but yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah, someone's talking about Anthropic, but we'll look at that in a bit later. So let's finish this workflow first, and then we will take a break and look at the comments. So okay, now we got the result back from the LLM. We have an action plan. We want to put it into action, right? That's the goal. We want to finish the task. We want to like carry out those commands. So let's say I want it in a JSON format. In Python, it's very easy because, let's say I build the agent with Python, just like foreshadowing that I'm going to show you some Python code. So I build an AI agent in Python, let's say, and now I have the action plan in JSON format. I can just like, use, Python to parse it into a dictionary in Python. So now I can go through the dictionary one by one and carry out those action plan. So within those action plan, it should tell me which tool that at this step, the LLM want me, Junie or the agent to use. So, so now, like for example, is the action is to open a file. So then, yeah, the agent will open a file. So like, in Python, maybe reading the file, opening it or reading it, that kind of thing. And so you have to, so in building your agent, you have to have that to written. So for example, what is open a file? So open a file, maybe you have to use you know uh file, use the reading the file and then like get the content out. So that's reading the file, get the content, in, whatever. Yeah. On the other hand, like writing the file maybe is like, okay, put that, like, text into, literally like into the file and save, and like, that again, like that can be done with easily with Python, but of course other languages as well, or just even some like bash script, you can do that. So that's the action plan. Or execute some program, maybe you could have like, oh, one of the two available is Git, right? So maybe, yeah, you have to make a commit or whatever, like then, yeah, like run that command, or like use, you have to write that tool yourself. So you would also see that in the code in a bit later if you're staying with us. Okay, so now we have the action plan, we have past action plan, we have go through them and execute them, and the last bit is to evaluate the result. So what we would do is to, every time we take an action, we would record the results, right? Whether it's not successful, what happened, so all of them, we would record those results. Again, like, kind of like writing a report. So you can use any format that is, easiest. It could be like a JSON file. It could be, if you want to write a paragraph, like, okay, the execute code is that, or maybe like, you want to capture the stack trace if there's an error, or like whatever. Document it. Why? Because we want to evaluate it. So one way to evaluate it is well, of course, like for example, if you have generate some code, maybe you can run some tests on the code, or like just run it to see if it works, right? But what is maybe more easy to evaluate the whole thing, the whole picture, is to maybe send the result back to the LLM to ask it to evaluate it for you, to see like, if there's some error, of course, like it will get picked up. But what we want is to maybe have a update of the action plan, or having a salvage plan, right? Like what to do next now to fix it, right? Um so that's a potential to be able to correct if something doesn't work. Can we analyze what's happened? Is there any way to work around it? So that is the last step in this flow. Of course, if you want to, there is an update action plan, or whatever, then you will go back to the stage of like, okay, now we are carrying out this updated action plan, so you will go back into a loop. That's the workflow. Okay, is there any interesting things that yeah, or if someone already has a GPT Pro or Cloud, oh, so that is like more like a pricing question by Load. So I guess that's something I can't answer you right now, because I'm not in the sales team. So for pricing, I think the best way is to get in touch with the sales team. You can find their contact in our website. So yeah, they would be able to help you better. Working with Junie after having worked with, okay, can I show this? Okay, sorry. Working with Junie after having worked with C-Line powered by Sonnet, yes, and with Anthropic Close DL, I'm super impressed. Yay! I'm glad that you like it. Yes. So yeah, so Junie is actually quite good. um, yeah, I would say it's not perfect. Junie still make mistake, like I said, because the knowledge cutoff was last year. It's still missing like a year of information. So like if you're using Python 3.13, like if you're like me, you're writing in Python using Python 3.13 is very cool. But sorry, Junie doesn't know the new things, and you may have to be kind of, you are the smart brain, you go there to fix it yourself. Yeah, there's an ice cream truck outside. Sorry if you can hear ice cream truck music. Okay, so next is yeah. I think it's more about why use Junie when okay, there's a is there a question? Yeah, why use Junie when there are other similar options? Yeah, I think okay, so I haven't mentioned this, but Junie, because well, I mean, like it's our our team. Well, of course, we have a Junie team in JetBrains. Like it's our team who developed Junie, and I hope most of you here are like you love using our IDE, and because IDE is not just somewhere you write some text, right? It has a lot of functionality that is very very helpful for developer, and Junie kind of a lot of times, I can't tell you exactly, but we use some of these power from the IDE. For example, right? For example, we have indexing, so like we know more about the project and the structure and all this stuff. So those information will be used by Junie as well. Like we said before, like we are not just like putting your prompts to the LLM, right? We also set the stage. We tell the LLM what environment you have, what things you have in this project, and having a good IDE and having a good integration with the IDE actually could help that. That's why Junie is working very well, and the experience is very smooth when you're using Junie with our IDEs. Um, Again, like I'm not trying to like doing a hustle like sales pitch here. I'm just telling you my experience so far. Junie, it does most of the things fine. There's still some rough edges, but I think a lot of times save me time. Like especially when you start a project, you don't want to start from scratch. Junie can give you a very good foundation to start with. Or if you have you want to do some big change to your project, Junie can do like most of the stuff, and then you just need to go down to the details to refine it to get it to perfectly what you want at the end. So that's the good thing. Um, yeah. So uh, the flaws of Junie. Ooh, spicy question. Uh, Stuck in infinite loop. Oh, that's unfortunate. Generate a React app that never render anything on screen. Yeah, again, like Junie has its limitation. I guess like I'm not like an active React user, but I guess because from my limited experience with React, it has been developed very very quickly, and there's a lot of different way of doing things. So I think that's where it's a bit challenging, like not just for Junie, but any like LLM or AI coding agent, is that like if you have something that again like it has been developed very quickly, then the knowledge base is not up to date, then it could you show some huge challenges there. But also like I think luckily I work in the Python field, and then in Python we have a lot of now the community have unify a lot of way of doing things, like the format, or like we have a lot of pep of saying like what we should do, and everything is well documented. So um that would really give that language a benefit in terms of using it with the AI coding agent. So yeah, like I also try a little bit to generate a web app, not using Python, but like more in React and JavaScript space. Yeah, it's challenging, and I don't know if it's because of my lack of knowledge or what. But yeah, uh, so again, like using a AI coding agent doesn't mean that you don't have to do anything. So a lot of people are saying these days, right? Like, oh, now people don't have to learn how to code because people doing vibe coding, and like they don't really understand what's going on. But no, like from my experience using AI coding agent, you have to know more about what's going on, because you are there to correct the mistake. You are being more critical thinking yourself about whether that's correct or not. So um yeah, so again, like you know um I'm sorry that you don't have a very nice experience so far, but again, like yeah, again, I guess yeah, there's also challenges, and the technology is still improving. There's still a lot of room for improvement, so maybe check back later, maybe it will be better. I don't know. Okay, so right, let's move on to the last diagram I want to show you. Yeah, there's a lot to take in here. So this is, again, like reiterating the potential architecture. You will see this become the code in a bit. So again, like we have the input prompts that is describing the goal. We also have information about the project, which is like, setting the stage, and also all the tools available and what files are there, potentially, like, documentation, config, all those is then sent to LLM. And then after that, we have to consume the result, which is like passing the action plan. And then sometimes like answering questions, right? We have ask mode in Junie. So sometimes just like asking some question about the project. And it's better than just like asking a LLM directly, because the LLM now already know about your project. You don't have to set the stage yourself. It's already done for you. So, you can just ask for some questions. So, then you will get your answers. Or if you want some coding or do some tasks for your project, then, some command will be run, and then some code may be edited and things like that. After that, the evaluation of results. So Junie doesn't stop at this stage. It will probably just like, go back and, maybe take some extra action if something doesn't work, how to like, maybe try something else to see if that works. So that is the, again, like generalize of how our design of the AI coding agent. So, okay, let's go into the code. So let me switch to my coding, my PyCharm. So I have PyCharm here. We have Junie, of course. We have Hugging Face. Reason being that for this example here, we are not using, we are not using Sonnet. We are not, again, like this is just a toy example, oversimplified AI agent example. It is not working well. It's like far from like working as well as Junie. It's just, again, like to demonstrate how, AI coding agent could be designed. But again, like this is not reflecting how Junie is built. It's just a over generalized idea. So you can even build something yourself to just like play and experiment. But so that's why we are not using Sonnet. I'm using a way simpler open source model. I'm using DeepSeek. This one is also very small, relatively small, so it can run locally on my computer. But it's still very, very slow. We all have limitation. That's why, like, we do have like, for our AI offerings, we do have local model. But again, like, I'm just using a normal like MacBook. It's not going to be like super fast locally. So, right. And now we can have a look at, so first of all, we need the this LLaMAfile, which is, I'm not going to go into detail, but like the LLaMAfile is running somewhere. Is it? Yeah. Oh no, it stopped. Okay. So yeah, we need to run the LLaMAfile first. So this is basically from Hugging Face. That's why you see the Hugging Face showing up here. So this is getting, a LLaMAfile get from Hugging Face. What it is that it can run, the LLM as an executable on your computer. But I just crashed it before, so let's do it again. So it will run again. And yeah, it will run it in your local server. It's also use as a my GPU to try to make it faster. It also comes with a chat interface, so it's kind of like chatting directly to a LLM. But that's not what we are trying to do here. We are trying to build a AI coding agent. So, what is good about this is also it is compatible with the OpenAI API as well. So let's close this so we can look at the code. And let's close this as well so we can have a better look. Yeah, so let's see, it's quite a lot here. So you see that like we're using OpenAI, the client, because this LLaMAfile is even though it's like the model is DeepSeek, is not developed by OpenAI, but after packaging it into this LLaMAfile, it can also is compatible, so you can use the OpenAI client here. So I'm using Python, and so you will see that we have quite a lot of things going on here. So maybe let's look at where we set the stage. So here, these are the tools. So like I said before, so I don't know if it's like, do I have to highlight? I hope you can see. So like, yeah, this is tool. So like, these are all the tools that that I said you have to code it yourself, because create a folder. Like, well, how do you create a folder? So probably like in Python, you can use the path library to create it, or you can run tell Python, oh, run a command line on the terminal to do a mkdir to create a folder. You can also create a Python environment. So this is one of the tools. So this is one of the tools that you offer to the LLM. It's like, oh, if you want to create a Python environment, then yeah. Yeah, so this is like create a Python environment. It is using the VM library. So for those of you who are familiar with Python, so this is a standard way of creating a Python environment. It's a vanilla way, vanilla way to create a Python virtual environment. So yeah, so all of these is very basic. List all the files, read the file, write the file. So like you have to again, like, create those tools in the code yourself. There's also executing the code. So there's all these, and yeah, or sometimes you can create a temporary file and then run that code. So that's that. So these are the tools. So this is a toolbox that we have created. So let's see how the AI agent, so like how the AI agent work, right? First, like I said, we are using the OpenAI client to talk to the LLM. So like that's why we have the base URL, because it's a local model. We don't have an API key, so we just put in anything we want. So this agent, so like we would eventually tell the agent we have these two available. So we have to like document them and save them, and then yeah, and then okay, generate action plan. So like this wall of text is basically how you is the system message. Basically, it's like setting the stage for the LLM. So look at what you give the LLM before even running the first prompt. It's so this is very common. Your AI coding agent. So what's your task? Your task is to help the user. So these are the following tools that we have available. List file, read file, execute code, create Python environment, all these stuff that we have coded. We just put it here, which will tell the LLM that we would do that. Yeah, and then this is the extra requirement that I have added, is that all the action plan will execute in a folder name result. Again, like this is also something that you can set the stage. It's very important. It also create a new Python environment, because maybe when you develop this, you may not want to mess up with what the user already have. So you may want to have an isolated place to store their code, experiment, or like an extra environment, like isolated environment to test things. Also, action plan. This is the format. We're using JSON format here. So we also want to capture the thoughts, because like sometimes we want to present that to the user. So if something need correcting, the user need to know why this is happening like that, right? So Junie also do that. Junie will also tell you like, oh, I'm doing that now because so now we are doing that. So like we're kind of like pair programming with someone. They would tell you, okay, let's do that now, and then do that. So yeah. And then yeah, so that's so then like that's That's the system message, which is like setting the stage. And then after that, we want to get a prompt from the user. So the user can tell like, oh, do that for me. And that would be a user message, user prompt. So that would be the second information that's given to the LLM. So so far, let's take a break because I just do an information dump. So let's have a look at the comments. Yeah. Example prompt in Junie that does exactly that. Not rules for working. Yeah, so for the guidelines, I would say that when you're using, oh, sorry, I should show the, yeah, I'm talking about this one. Yeah, so example prompt, and so yeah, what should go into the June, the guidelines.md, right? So I would say something that is more kind of, so the guidelines is for you to customize things. So a lot of basic stuff, like for example, those setting the stage, those tools, they are done by the develop, the engineering team, like is already in Junie. So even if you take Junie out of the box, you didn't add any guidelines, Junie can still work. But for the guidelines, more for like customizing what you want. So for example, right, let's say again, like I use Python as an example. So a lot of times when you generate some Python code, you will have a requirements.txt which store the dependencies, right? So I would sometimes put in the guidelines.md say like, hey, please don't pin the version because Junie won't use the most updated version because I want the updated version, but Junie won't use it. Because again, like there's a time gap between Junie's knowledge and our world. So yeah, so I would tell Junie, don't pin the versions in the requirements.txt, so I can, when I do a simple pip install, I can have the latest version. So those are the extra thing you want to customize. It won't apply for the other users. It's only for this project specifically. Yeah, guideline will go into the context of each task. So for example, like I'm generating multiple like Python files. So there will be dependencies adding, this comment, yeah. So there will be dependencies adding like all the time, right? So I want it to be the same every time. Please don't pin the version. I love to have the updated version. So that's what it is. Right. Yeah, so Anton already talked about that before. So if you're interested, watch the previous previous videos. Right. So how does Junie code mode differ from ask mode in terms of context population? Are the contents of all Scratch files created in session added with each follow up? So there's a lot to unpack here. So how does a code mode differ from the ask mode? I think the most obvious difference is that ask mode won't take any action. Ask mode is just there to answer your question. So what you get back at the end of Junie working in ask mode is to tell you what it thinks, any recommendation or whatever, like answer your question. It will be in the window here. So okay, maybe I can do some showing if I can show it. Okay. So for example, I can change to ask mode, and then I'll be like, what is the libraries, Python libraries to what do we want to do to create a web app? Okay, so maybe like that, right? So then you just like answer the question, basically like chatting to ChatGPT. That's what it is. Yeah, so it will just send the LLM the question. It won't have an action plan and it won't execute any action plan. You may ask for like recommendation of like what should I do, but it won't be taken into action. So yeah, you will get an answer. Yeah, there's several popular, so like we can also view it here. So this is a whole MD file. Wow, it's like a documentation. There's a lot. So list all of the potential tools you can use to build a web app in Python. So yeah, it will just give you so it will answer your question. It may also put it in the empty file, but it's more like kind of documentation. It's not like really writing code or anything like that. So that's the difference. So contents of all Scratch file. So for follow up, yes, it will take the previous action or previous prompt into account for the follow ups. I personally don't use follow up that much because it's sometimes very confusing. I just I already have the file. I can just start a new prompt. If it's not very related to the previous one, or sometimes I just don't use it a lot. I think it can still fix, even if I want to wanted to fix something, it can still fix it without using a follow up prompt. Like it can still fix it in a new prompt. So I don't use it that much. So yeah. Okay, let's go back and see what else do we have here in the chat. Okay. There's a tab for history. Oh, okay, yeah. There is, so you can see that what I've done here. There is the tab for history, so you can check back what is done before. And Asmo and Codemo are different. Well, I mean, but you can still see it. But yeah, it's just for you to see it. But sometimes, you want to, run it again. So, for example, create more unit tests. You may want to create more and more and more unit tests. So you may run it again, so it will make it faster for you to just use the previous prompt. Junie guidelines. Yes, for the guidelines, you have to set up in your current project. So what you can do is let me close Junie, and so you need to create a file. So new file. It needs to be sitting in the .junie folder, and then guidelines.md, and then you can already type, for example, put all the action plans in a maybe action.md, something like that. Maybe oh, what's going on? Maybe I'm running out of memory. Okay, right. It could happen. I'm running so many things. I'm running the LLaMAfile. I'm running Junie, and it's I'm just pushing the limit of my computer. So that could happen. Okay. Show them, explain the reason why you add. Yeah, again, why I add this, because I want this to be. So you can add this requirement, the guidelines, every time you make a prompt. So for example, now I have this in the guidelines.md. So you don't need it. You can, every time it's okay, now, do something, Junie, do something, but also save your action in the guidelines, in a action.md. But you want it every time. You don't want to type it every time. So basically, it's some extra setting that you don't want to manually put in every time in your prompt. Then you can put it in the guidelines.md. So you can imagine every time your prompts will also include this guideline.md. So it will be understood by Junie to follow as well. Yeah. Okay. So I hope that answers some questions. And let's go back to the code if we can. Oops. Where is my code? Here. Okay. So we were talking about we're talking about setting the stage and giving the prompts to Junie. Now, when we get something back, so we will get a response from the AI agent. I mean the LLM from the LLaMAfile, the DeepSeek. So we will have a message back. So you may want to. So it's actually a wall of text. So I don't know if I can try it, because it's very demanding here. Um, I'm running also live stream and everything, so I don't know if I have enough resources to try this, but let's try to run it. And okay, I can. So this is my agent in the terminal. This is my agent. So enter your coding task. I'll be like, okay, just create a Python file to add to numbers. Very simple, right? This is basically how you teach a kid how to code in Python. But anyway, let's put in something very simple to see if it works. Again, like you should not be running LLM in a MacBook. Like if you have a machine built for doing that, you have extra GPU and stuff. Of course, yes, you can do that. You can run local model. Sometimes this is the preferred way because for data security, whatever. But my computer is not built for that. It's not even the top tier model at the moment, so it's very limiting. So let's hope it will give us something eventually. So let's not look at it now. It's kind of feel like watching paint dry, so we don't want that. Okay, so let's not look at it, and then we will look at it later. Right, is it still running though? Yeah, it's still running. Okay, right. Okay, so you will get a long message back from the LLM, and in this case, this DeepSeek model, it would also give a like thinking process or whatever. So we would have to extract the action plan from it because we don't want the reasoning. Well, you may want to show the reasoning to the user, but we don't want the reasoning in the action plan. So what we're going to do is that we would have to write a specific code to extract the action plan and then pass it into something that is executable, like we said before. So let's have a look at that. So yeah, like again, like this is very, very, rough. This is just a toy example, so it's like, not very sophisticated, but you can see that like I am, ignoring the thinking process, which very nicely is in the tag, in the thing tag, which I can easily remove that if I don't want them. I can also like remove all this like weird symbol because like there are some tags there as well, so I'll remove them. And then I will try to get the JSON bit, which is the action plan, and then trying to put it into a JSON file. So yeah, this is not very sophisticated, and it fails sometimes because like, I can't pass the JSON because for some reason, like I think in this LLM it confuses JSON and Python dictionary a lot, so sometimes it doesn't give me a valid JSON, so the passing will fail. But anyway, in an ideal world, you should be able to pass the action plan into something that, like, let's say a dictionary or a list or whatever that you prefer your format, and then you can execute them using the tool. So let's assume that it has done it. We have an action plan in a Python dictionary. So let's go back to here and see what's going on. So yeah, here you will see that we would have to create we have to store the result somewhere, and then we're just so yeah, here it's like taking the action. So we'll get the action. So what action we do, we take the tool name, so we know which function to execute, and then we execute that, and then we would store the result. So yeah, the easiest is to like whether it's successful or not. If not, then like it what are the errors, so we'll just record those. Yeah. So yeah, so that's an interesting question. So does Junie handle large files efficiently by adding relevant parts of the file to its context when reading in chunks? Does it use everything it reads before finding the relevant information? So I think it's come back to the point that one thing Junie is very good at is to work with the IDE. So in IDE, again, like we don't. So for example, you search for things in the IDE, it's very fast because there are some indexing. It won't be just as simple as just like the file as is. There are some tricks, which I'm not able to tell you because I'm not in the engineering team. But yeah, so like I'm pretty sure that Junie know as smart like Junie is smarter than that. Like Junie know more than just the text file, like in your file, but maybe a little bit of how the code is structured and things like that. So it can find whatever very quickly. Because again, like taking the advantage of a good idea, which we have. Right. So let's see what happened. Okay. Right. So luckily we have something back. Okay, let's have a look at this. This is interesting. Okay. So our not so sophisticated toy AI coding agent have come back and say that like something failed. Yeah, so like I said before, this agent that I built just for fun is having issue passing the JSON, so it doesn't work. But you will see the raw response, which is something I want to show you here. This is the response from the LLM. So it's very funny, right? Like I didn't know this before until I tried it. Like I was like, oh, DeepSeek will give you like a thinking process. And then like, oh, it's thinking. It's like, okay, so you just want to create a Python file, and then okay, it just talk like a little like kid. It's so funny. Like, let me think about how to approach this. They mentioned using tools provided, so let's we have a look at the tool. I was like, oh, okay, create a Python file and then include execute code. So maybe yeah, I can run code in the Python environment and created a file at the result, which is correct. Like, I mean, we told them that like, oh, please, start a new Python environment. Please store all the files in the result. It does understand like the information we give at the beginning. It 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 understands, and like so yeah, so it's like logically it's very sound. It's just that the JSON file fails to pass, which is my fault because I didn't do a good job of that. um okay, so yeah, so after that, like we have an action plan. So this is our action plan. So yeah, like even for each step, it will give you some thoughts. This is because when we set the stage, we set that like for the action plan for each step, we want to see why we are doing that. So this is also very useful if you want to show the user what's going on. Yeah, so you see that like this more or less follow what we want. I think why we trip up the parser could be the code part, because you know codes contain lots of symbols, and sometimes it doesn't sit very well with the JSON format. So maybe I should do something differently. I don't know, but someone smarter may know how to do it. But yeah, so that's the end of this run, unfortunately. So yeah. So and let's have a look at right. Someone said, yeah, there were Matthias said that like I had a rather big database file with 12k lines of code. Junie wasn't able to read all of it into the context. Ooh, so it used set in other comments to get part of the file to add them to the context. Yeah. So like I said, Junie is smarter than you thought, actually. Like, yes. So for large files, like it won't just do it as is, and it will try something else. And if it doesn't work, it would try more than just one shot and then doesn't work. So sorry, it doesn't work. It would try other ways. So that's the difference between Junie and AI assistant. So a lot of you is like, oh, like you adding more stuff. It's like, yeah, but AI assistant and Junie are different. So AI assistant is more like code completion. It would just be doing one shot, you know. So it would give you a result after one shot, and then you can, accept or decline. But for Junie, it would, keep finding a way to try to fulfill the task that you have given to them. So yeah, that's the main difference between the two. So we are almost an hour. I already said like I can't do a 3 hour. I think 1 hour is more or less my maximum, because like I yeah I just think that like myself can't sit through a talk that's 1 hour. So I just think like yeah, I don't want to like sit here and just talk and talk and for more than an hour. But let's look at the end of the code, and then we'll see if there's more questions. If not, then we'll just call it a section today. But let's look at but yeah, please ask questions. This is your last chance. This is what I'm trying to say. But we would, in the meantime, we will look at the end, like evaluating the result, and then like look at how we can maybe like try again, the retry of the agent. So right. So after we have the results that's saved, whether it's correct, or not, or sometimes like when you execute the result, it fails, right? So it's like, let's say you are trying to open a file that doesn't exist. I don't know why the LLM tell you to open the file. Maybe hallucination, or maybe something's wrong. I don't know. So it fails. So we'll have something that fails here. So then we are evaluating the result. So evaluating the result is another communication to the LLM. So we'll do the same thing. We'll set the stage. We'll say like, hey, again, like you are AI coding agent, but this time, instead of fulfilling the task of a user, you tell LLM is like, now you are trying to evaluate the success of the action plan. So we say that like, yeah, and if it's not successful, give a new action plan that is like, that's this is the response. Or maybe that is like, you can be a little bit more give more a little bit more detail here. You'll be like, whether you want a new action plan that could that start from scratch, then you have to like maybe roll back and then start from scratch, or you want a action plan that is fixing the issues, right? So you can be more specific here. I didn't because again, like this is just an example. I'm sure like again, like it's far from what is like something that's in production. So yeah. Only include the new action plan if it's not successful. If it's successful, then we're happy. So the last thing we do is that we would give it a 3 times attempt in our agent, a toy agent here. So where is it? Yeah. So we'll iterate like 3 times that if it's not successful, if we have a new action plan, then try the new action plan again. Like if it's if it fails 3 times, then don't try. Just say like, sorry, we can't do it. But yeah. So that's the basic concept of how we build the agent. So I'm planning to publish a blog post about this. So the code that you see today is included in the blog post. I think there's a link to like the gist of this, so like you don't have to be like, oh my god, I want to also like play with this. You get the code when the blog post is published. So just pay attention. It's still in the pipeline, so I don't know when it will get published. But if you haven't, again, like if you haven't done yet, if you haven't seen it before, go to our blog. There's a JetBrains AI blog, so it's specifically about our AI stuff. So yeah, maybe go and have a look there. Yeah. So okay, so before we wrap up, let's have a look at all your comments. So yeah, thank you for coming. And imagine burning through all your tokens because then the whole database of the context. Yeah, be mindful. I know, like I'm also want to like be like not just with the company but also with the users. I mean, like yeah, we have tokens, and that's also like a little tip of like, don't abuse the follow-up prompt, because if you have a very very long follow-up prompt, it would also increase your usage of tokens. So be mindful of like when you follow up, when you don't follow up. So yeah, that's why I also like, I don't want to have a habit of having 10 follow-ups, because it doesn't really help much. Yeah. Creating an agent. Yeah. Again, like if you are creating your own agent, so you, of course, you first have to have an LLM. So I would suggest like have a look on Hugging Face. There's a lot of open source. Because you're prototyping, you may not want the newest and most powerful like model that is available right now, right? So the most usually the most powerful ones are you have to pay for it. So if you're just prototyping, have a look at Hugging Face. Sometimes there's something that's small enough that you could run locally or run at your local GPU or run it somewhere your host that, is maybe cheaper than using a, someone's offering. So, but of course, like if you're like, oh, this is good enough, then you want to try it with the, the proper thing, then of course you can decide which model to use. But yeah, for models, I would say like for prototyping, maybe try using something open source. I think most of the time it will give you an idea whether your idea works or not. So yeah. Um, yeah, so I think I didn't see any specific question right now. So yeah, I think that's the end of the live stream.